There we go. Ah, lovely. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So we've taken an executive decision to combine two panels. And the reason for that is because I think that our audience for these panels is the same, and the aim of our discussion is also very similar. So thank you very much to our panelists for being accommodating, and to you as well. My name is Nick Cherkas, and with Samaya, we're going to be co-chairing this panel discussion. So I'd like to start by introducing three of the panelists, and I'll go in linear order. In the center here, we have Mr. Yassin Adnan. Yassin Adnan, born in Safi, but I know you very much as a Marrakchi, and I think you are synonymous with the city of Marrakech. And Yassin Adnan is well known as a writer, journalist, TV presenter, possibly more. And he's also the president of the Marrakech English Book Association. Next to Mr. Yassin, we have Dr. Nina Morgan. And Nina is a professor of English. She was the editor-in-chief at the Journal of Transnational American Studies and is a founding member of the Moroccan American Studies Association. And at the end, Mr. Yacine Rettnani. Mr. Yacine is the director of Le Croisé des Chemins, a publishing house, which is a Moroccan publisher publishing books in English. I would say he comes from a long line and has a heritage of culture and books and reading and literacy. A nice quote from Mr. Rettnani is that books are in his genes. And he's not talking about his trousers, I don't think. So I'm going to hand over to Samaya, who's going to introduce our remaining panelists.
Hello, everyone. So glad to be here with my friend Nick. We're going to be friends now.
We are
Nick,
friends
we're
already.
going to co-moderate this discussion. So glad to have all the panelists and the people who are here for us. I'm going to start with Marwan Fishan. Marwan Fishan is the managing director of Fondation Hiba, cultural structure doing great things here in Rabat and in Morocco, and great partner of Yak Boulevard Association, where do I work since more than 25 years. We have also Al Hussein, author. Al Hussein is author of Love and War and a Journey of Top Inspiration. Yeah. We have with us also Zakaria, that I met just 30 minutes before this panel, is a Moroccan author, poet, and novelist with 2 books self-published. So glad to be here, and we will be pleased to present to you this panel. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to say Hafsa.
Hello. I'd like just to tell you how come we started panel discussions in English in this international book fair in Rabat. Okay, so that dates like 1 year ago when we had a great meeting here in the Librairie Nationale, and I mentioned as a professor, I'm a professor of English and American literature. I'm a founding member of Beit Shi'r, and I write poetry in English. So I fell in love with English when I was 10 years old, and so I addressed the assembly, Mr. Mehdi bin Said, and there was late Allah yarhamou, Abdel Rettnani, publishers and everything. And I said 3 things. Kids today in the streets of Rabat, Casablanca, and everywhere speak English together when they get out of the lycées. And there was a book festival, an English book festival in Marrakech in English. And today we have young writers in the English language, and this is how I initiated last year the first panel discussion, which was Morocco and the Anglo-Saxon world. And when you open your mouth, you get some job. And this year, I invited 7 panel discussions, 26 people from different countries. Okay.
Thank you, Hafsa. And congratulations for your hard work in organizing the panels. So I'd like to open with a first question referring to our title of one of our combined sessions. creating and publishing in English in Morocco, what future? What is the future? But I'd like us, before we think about the future, to go back into the past. And I will address this first question to Mr. Yassin Adnan to tell us about the past of Moroccans writing in English. So what's happened before now?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Hafsa. Thank you to my colleagues, to my panel mates. In fact, yeah, I mean, if we want to start about publishing in English, we should really go back to the past and think of Mohammed al-Marabit, the illiterate Moroccan writer who was translated from Moroccan Darija by Paul Bowles. And the book was published, Love with a Few Hates, قفطان الحب لما نكتب الهواء, that Mumin Smihi has made from it a great movie. The book was published in 1967 by Peter Owen in London. Then in 1971, Whisper of Anger of Muhammad Abu Talib was the second Moroccan book published in English, and it was a poetry collection of poems. It was a poetry book, and it was published in London, at London Agency Press. In 1971, Heirs to the Pass of Driss Shraibi. Le Passé Simple was translated to English by Heinemann in London, and it was published in 1971, the same year with the collection of poetry of Abu Talib. In 1973, the famous For Bread Alone, Khubz al-Hafi of Mohammed Shukri, and it was published by Peter Owen, the same publisher of the first book of Al-Marabit. And again, it was a book translated not from Arabic, but from Moroccan Arabic, because it was not, the book was not written in Arabic yet. The first edition was the English one. The second was the French one, translated to French by our friend Tahir ibn Jalloun. And the third edition, it was the Arabic version. The third version was the Arabic one. In 1989, I will think of Year of the Elephant, the famous novel Amil Fil of Layla Abu Zaid at Texas Press. I'm giving these most important books because this is how publishing in English started in Morocco. All of the books were published outside Morocco. Some of them, or let's say, apart from Abu Talib, all of them were translations. And then, I mean, we will have Moroccans write in English, and I will stop by here because I have some writers that will talk about their experiences. So let this introduction be the only thing we say for the past, because we are eager to switch to the present.
And the future.
Exactly.
Thank you. So as we combine both panels, our panel is English in Young Moroccan Creativity. And my question will go to Marwan. We usually say that English is not learned, but absorbed like a sponge. We would love to know what is the role or the function of English in your professional field, first of all.
Well, very tricky question for a first question. Thank you first to Hafsa, who extended the invitation to participate in this panel. As we discussed just earlier, I think first, English in the Moroccan use among young people is not really a professional English, it's like a communication English. So as a joke, I always say, and it's not really a joke, it's a serious thing, but I try to joke about it. If you ask a young person in Morocco to just write the same sentence that they said, it's unlikely that they would write it the right way. And if you ask them to just replace some of the words and then use synonyms, it's unlikely as well that they can do it, because the learned English and the spread of English now that we're talking about and everyone's like moving to English is not a, let's say, structured learning English. It's rather a listen to English. Thank you Netflix, thank you YouTube, thank you all the rappers around the world. This was a joke. Thank you. My God. Does everybody understand English here? Anyways, so just mine for now. Personally, I'm gonna just open a bracket about my personal experience. My mom is an English teacher, and I grew up listening to audiobooks. And whenever we wanted our dad not to understand what we would say, my mom used to joke about dad in English with my brother and I. So very special family. But then now, when I listen to young people at the different cultural events that we organize, or the residencies, or whenever I cross path with young people, just like going this fast English, blah, 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 I'm like really surprised. Actually, it was one of the reasons my mom quit teaching English, because her students came onto her like, oh, we talk, and then, no, you don't. Yeah, you can speak, but you can't really speak, and you can't even write it. So I think it's a rather dangerous thing to consider that that is English, and also in terms of professional implications, I think our young people are not equipped with the right English terms to go into the professional world. So yeah, let's just separate these two subjects. The communication English that is spoken on the streets is not the same as the one that is used in the structure of work.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marwan. I'd like to bring in Dr. Nina Morgan to tell us a little bit about your experience in working with young Moroccans and their projects with students from the United States. I believe. So tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to spend time with you talking in English, about English, and global English. I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with Moroccan universities, specifically Hassan II University in Casablanca, on many years of projects developing English skills. And I, as a professor of English myself in the United States, I want to say that English speakers in the United States also have trouble writing English. English is something that we all learn, and what I have seen in Morocco is beautiful English, promising English, creative English. And in fact, because Hafsa has been such an important influence in this project, and one of the student teams, so what we did was we had teams of students, Moroccan and American students, collectively reading and studying about important women in Moroccan culture and in history, and using their lives or their narratives as a basis for a story for children. So in this particular story, which features a drawing of Hafsa in this book right here, the student tells the story of a little girl who has a very hard time writing a poem and being respected for it. And so she goes to a librarian. The librarian is dressed in a Moroccan outfit. And the librarian tells her that she has been reading the work of Hafsa Bekri Lamrani, and that this young little poet could be inspired by her courage. And so they played around with the shape of the text, and they also tried to be creative with the design. There's a section where they're told about Moroccan design and what mosaic is. And so that the children learn not to feel weak or fragile, but since they have the model of Hafsa as a writer, they're inspired to write a poem. So please, she hasn't seen this, obviously. So.
That's a great gift. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you like it. This is an example of the ways in which the students worked collaboratively to produce a story that could be told and read by children in any country. And that's one of the marvelous things about sharing English as a language, is the access to a global audience. And from my brief experience, in light of the colleagues here, of course, my experience is much more limited, but I will say that the capacity of young Moroccans to write in English is astonishing to me, and I think it will be a humongous market for Morocco and for the world to start reading these young Moroccan writers in English.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. My next question goes to Al Hussein and Zakaria. I was sharing with Al Hussein, we were talking about the first language you were choosing to write your first novel. And could you, for example, both of you, share with us a challenge that you met when you first started writing, for example? And the language was a barrier or not? Could you please share with us as young Moroccan writers? Hussein is 24 and Zakaria is 27. And please, it's for you.
Yeah, sure. Zakaria, would you like to start? Or should I go first? All right, then.
Young people first.
Okay. So, as Hafsa said, my first language actually isn't English, it's French. So, most of my upbringing was in French. And when I started writing my first novel, Journey to Inspiration, I started writing it in French. And then I started encountering some challenges. And those were not especially linguistics. I'm usually very good at that. Not to brag. So my problem was, the Moroccan market is overloaded with books in French. Like, almost everyone writes in French. And the process to publish also in French is often tedious and very long and not very transparent. So I thought myself, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. At that time, it was in September 2020. And I was a very big fan of football boots. Matter of fact, I think, the only registered boots fan in Morocco. So I wrote an article about football boots. That was my first piece in English. And I had it published in a Japanese blog, whose specialty was football boots. And I got very positive feedback from it. Comments from all over the world, some people from Mexico, some people from the United States, people from Japan as well. And I asked myself, can I go further? Can I do better? And so I told myself, I already have a story. Why not try the challenge? Write it in English. And that's what I did, word after word, paragraph after paragraph, until I ended with what became Journey to Inspiration. I'll be frank with you, publishing it was almost a nightmare. I say almost, because I made it at the end. No publisher could publish me in English, in Morocco. So those were ruled out. I went to French publisher. I had to translate my book to French. And they also told me, look, it's not the kind of book we'd like to publish these days. So I told myself, know what? I'm going to do it myself. I happened at the time to launch my company, my consulting company, Smia Consult. So I had some income coming in. So I told myself I'm going to invest in myself. And I took that money and I printed my first book. Self-published this.
Thank you, Hussein.
Here. Okay, so I'll pass the microphone to Zakaria before I hold the talk.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. One of the reasons that made me choose English is just the complexity of the linguistic situation in Morocco. I often receive this question of, well, you're Moroccan, why do you speak English? Because my social media is mostly in English. Everything I've written so far is in English. So once you get that rebellion comment, like, is this some sort of giving up on your own identity? And so, but when I thought of it, my parents are both Amazigh, but they both speak Darija. Yes, they speak Darija. Where I grew up, it's a small city called Ben Ahmed. It's next to Stad. Very rural, very traditional, very poor. If you speak French there, you'll get beaten. Because they'll see you as trying to exercise your your classicism on them, because speaking French in certain places in Morocco is considered like, oh, it's like posh, like British posh, like, oh, you're trying to exercise your education on us. Is that what you're doing? So what I found is that, and I've started discovering this later on, and I'm trying to do some research into it, is that I think the reason why young people now are interested in English, it's some sort of a linguistic rebellion. Because French now, as we study more and as we know more, we know the colonial history behind it. And not to say that English doesn't have a colonial history, it does. But somehow, when you feel like you're oppressed through this language and with this language, you need to seek out some kind of the microphone's gone. You need to seek out some kind of a way to rebel against it. And from where I grew up, not learning French, because my education was just normal public education, very little focus on French. Standard Arabic is very difficult. I was not that smart in class. So English is everything that was around me, is the thing I've picked on from music and films. So I woke up one day and I had this baggage of English, and I found out that I can express myself in it. And I'm trying so hard not to take too long. But another thing that I've asked myself is that why is it so hard for us to express ourselves in Darija? Because I want to express myself in Darija, and I asked myself whether is it the fault in Darija, or is it the fault that we were not taught to express ourselves much in Darija? So if you grow up in a traditional Moroccan culture, expressing yourself is not really, it's not really that taken lightly. So I find that it's also an emotional rebellion as well. You have this new language, but there are no rules as to, you can say I love you, but it's gonna be very weird to say Akambrik. And it's very strange and it's very weird. So I thought about, oh, there's an emotional rebellion, because Darija feels very strange because the way we're brought up, we're not taught to speak creatively and speak emotionally. And it's also a linguistic rebellion against this classicism or against this colonialism. And I've only figured this out probably a week ago. So
just in
I'm
time.
still thinking about it. So
we've touched on language, we've touched on class, we've touched on education. So I mean, I'm going to pose a question to Yacine Rettnani, because you're uniquely placed here as a bookseller and as a publisher. Why are we having this discussion? Like, why is it so? Why are we having this discussion about Moroccans publishing in English? What are the barriers to that, and what is the role of all these factors, and also government, parents, booksellers, publishers, etc., in breaking those barriers down?
Okay. Well, yes. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Culture for this great book fair. It's the third edition in Rabat, and I am especially amazed by the quality every year, and I think this year is even better than last year. I'd like also to thank you and Alan for being behind these panels and all these things going around English books. I was very interested by what Mr. Taha Adnan said about the history of publishing and writing in Morocco. So I'm at the head of La Croisée des Chemins, who is a 43 years old publishing house created by my dad in the 80s. And it's really, I feel like I just understood something right now. It's like a repetition. I feel it's exactly what's happening with English is exactly what happened 40 years ago with French. A long time ago in Morocco, you would find Arabic books, you would have Arabic publishers. And my dad and my mom positioned themselves, after being booksellers, positioned themselves as publishers, Moroccan publishers, because all of our Moroccan authors who wrote in French, Driss Shraibi, Tahir Ben Shalloun, Abdelhaq Serhan, all of them, any author would dream to be published in France, because there were no real professional publishers in Morocco. And 43 years later, we can see that our publishing house has more than 3,000 books published, and our Moroccan authors are known worldwide, and today we are very proud to sell rights of our Moroccan authors abroad. We sell Leftah to an American publisher. We sell, voilà. So we're very proud about that. So me, growing up in this family, being a bookseller for more than 15 years in a French bookshop, thanks to COVID, I decided to open up my shelves to Arabic and to English, and that saved literally my independent bookshop, because I have no bank in my capital or no like investment fund. Like, it's a family business. Like, all of this, what we're doing is a family doing all this around books for 40 years, and it's saved my life. Why? Because it was a French bookshop. French, for most Moroccans, was posh. So we did a great job, but so many young Moroccans did not know the existence of the bookshop. And the bookshop is in Marif, and they would walk by it, but they would never go into it, because there was that received idea of French is for rich, French is for posh, and having English. And to get them inside the bookshop was, for me, the best human experience I could have. Like, we organize electronic music concerts inside the bookshop. Now we have lots of people who are electronic music fans who come and hang out in the bookshop. Dance performances, crochet workshops. So the whole project became how to make the bookshop sexy and have all these English and Arabic bookshops tell them, hey, we're independent, we exist, we only sell books, we do not sell school books, come, you can hang out, it's free. So all of that brought me, now at the head of the publishing house, parenthesis closed, inside the bookshop we always published in French, but we translated most of our books in English and in Arabic. But it would be the first baby would be in French, then we would translate. Being a bookseller and seeing all this crazy stuff going with English frustrated with our suppliers who do not play the game. And this was the same 40 years ago for French, by the way. Not having books on time, waiting 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 months to get books. I was like, I think it's time to publish in English. But for me, it was like same. Our mission as a Moroccan publishing house is to publish quality books about Morocco, about Moroccan authors. So to choose the first author to publish in English, who writes in English, and publish her, it's a girl, it's a woman, in English, was very complicated, but it was like a sign. She came to me. It was Mahani Alawi, who is a brilliant Moroccan lady who has a PhD from Princeton in anthropology, and who was published in New York, and who was read all around the world, but we could not find her books in Morocco, because to order a book from her American publisher would cost a minimum 400 dirhams, the book, and that was not possible. So I was very frustrated as a Moroccan bookseller not to be able to propose a quality Moroccan author. And I was harassing her, Mahani, when you publish your next novel, keep the rights for Morocco. Your publisher, your American publisher, is not selling in Morocco. He's not interested by Africa and Morocco. Keep your rights, keep your rights. And finally, for the third novel, she listened to me, and she kept her rights for Morocco and Africa. And I bought the rights, and we published it in January. And today it's we're second edition. It was all sold out and second edition. And now the challenge is to find other Moroccan authors.
And Mahani Alawi is going to be doing a book signing here tomorrow on the UK Pavilion stand, C42, at sometime.
Yes, and
I can't remember when.
And just one more point about what was saying Zakaria, and I was very touched by that, because I've been thinking about this many years. For me, English is not replacing French or Arabic.
That was my next question.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to perhaps answer your question before I talk about Mahani Alawi. I had maybe 2 months ago, an interview by Le Journal Le Matin about is English replacing French in Morocco? And my answer was, in Morocco, we don't replace anything. We've been keeping everything since the antiquity, because our kings before Christ were speaking Latin and Greek. So we keep everything, we don't throw anything. That's my answer. I just wanted to say a quick thing about Mahani Alawi, whom I presented in Casablanca about 10 days ago. This is a beautifully written book. It's written by an anthropologist, and it deals completely with Morocco and especially with Casablanca, and I live in Casablanca, and it is really a book, it's very beautifully written and very deep in terms cultural, in terms of how she approached the Moroccan culture in its, even in its Jewish, Muslim aspects, rooted in this book. So I really advise you to read it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hafsa.
11:30 on Wednesday is Mahani's book signing.
Thank you, Nick. So we'll go back to English in young Moroccan creativity. Hafsa already answered the question, but I will keep up asking the same question. I don't know, for those who were at the University for English Studies, we always talk about code mixing and code switching between young and old generations. Do you think, it's a question for all of you, do you think that English is replacing French? Do you think that this may create a gap between young and old generation? Tricky question. Marwan, you already have your mic.
Maybe one idea I wanted to share before answering the question, and I will answer the question, is that first takeaway is that when you listen to all of us, and now we've done the tour, we've listened to all of us, you have a take from a different perspective on our ideas about English, creativity, and young people. And then what it tells me, and I hope it resonates with you, is that in terms of value chain, if you want a language to succeed, you need to implement it at different levels of the country, whether it is at the university or at different, let's say, life stages of a young person. So if it's a publisher, they need to be able to publish a book in English, because it doesn't help if you teach English at school and then people cannot buy a book in English. And then if someone writes in English and they can get edited in English in the country, then why teach English and why publish English? So it's kind of like this vicious circle that needs to be a non-vicious circle. And it's actually a common problem between many things, but when we think about the place that English holds in our lives today, and especially in young people's lives, if we want to improve it, if we want to make it a good English and not just a flying words English, maybe we should help them get that structure at every stage. If they go to events, they would have good English. If they want to publish, if they want to read, if they go to the library, and if we kind of put it as a support way throughout the different stages of the value chain of young people living in Morocco, I think we will secure that kind of English that you were talking about. And just to clarify, when I said flying words English, I was not talking about all young people. I was talking about needs, who I call neither in education, employment, or training, and that's 1.5 million young people in Morocco. Then to answer the question, speed. I don't think English is replacing French, and I hope we have some French people here who can be like reassured. Yeah, because it's a huge worry. It's a huge worry for the French in Morocco. Like, we're losing French. Anyways, so I think we're shifting identities. English in young people's mindset is not really about the language, but it's about connecting to an identity and connecting to a freedom of speech, connecting to an ideal of, I don't know, we learned what the American dream is, so now America. So I think it's really about an ideal, a perception of an ideal, rather than a language replacing another.
I just want to continue the conversation in the sense that I cannot make a prediction about what will happen in Morocco, of course, but there are more excellent speakers of English in China than there are humans in the United States. So, you know, it is not an American English that we're learning, it's an English that is to use a French word, a mélange of different Englishes. And I think the Moroccans will, through their artistic production and cultural production, create their Moroccan English voices and aesthetic. Right now, Netflix is, producing so much content for children in English that the youngsters that I meet are speaking excellent English, and the government in Morocco educational system has clearly started drop everything and read, and doing that in English. But the difficulty is, as I've understood it from the teachers that I've spoken to in Morocco on the ground, English inspectors and so on and so forth, is they lack content. They have textbooks, but they need actual stories for children to be reading that are for Moroccan children written in English. And so that is the next stage, I think.
Okay, I will react to your question and then go further. But maybe because I'm an Arabophone writer that writes mainly in Arabic, and because I have many friends and colleagues that write some wonderful literary books in French, and I consider what they write part of our Moroccan literature. And because I love English, and I tried with my friend Alan Keohan, who is here among us, I think, and Nick Cherkas and some other friends, to come out with Marrakech English Book Festival. I still think that English is important. But still, yeah, yeah, thank you, Hafsa. But still, I would say, because of that, I don't think there is a language that will replace another language. I really consider Moroccans multilingual people, which is great. And in this multiplicity, we reside, and we should really keep it and consider it a part of the richness of our identity. Yeah. So that's an important thing. I will say that, and I will talk here as a member of the scientific committee of CIEL, of this book fair. At a moment of time, we've been aware of the fact that we have many panels in Arabic, many panels in French, and why not English? And Hafsa Bkaril Marani has joined us at the committee. She's doing a great job with the panels.
Why not in Amazigh in the future, Hafsa? Why not in Amazigh?
No, Amazigh. So, no, we have panels. Okay. No, we have.
Better.
We have panels in Amazigh and about Amazigh literature and culture. I think something like 11 panels that we have about Berber and Amazigh culture. I'm trying to. Sorry, I just want to enlarge a bit the scene, and then I will talk about Marrakech English Book Festival, which is a part of this dynamism. With Marrakech English Book Festival, we've been aware of the fact that we have people that write in English, and we have publishers in this country, and we have readers, but we need something like a point where they can just meet each other. And our first edition did something similar. I remember that Amina brought her first short story for children, which means there is something taking place, and we should be aware of it. What we need maybe are important events that can work on that. The festival is an important step. But I think the award you are going to, maybe some of you can join us after this panel. It's an award about books. Because again, some writers write and we don't know them. And publishers do not know them. So this is why This is why we've been very glad at Marrakech English Book Festival to participate with Costa Cafe and with the Moroccan Libraries Project in bringing to the surface Book Award and Short Story Prize 2024, which is a new national literary prize for Moroccan authors writing in English. So, with events like what we do in Marrakech, with panels like what we do here, with prizes like this, this is how, I mean, we can get this interaction, the needed interaction between writers, young writers, publishers, readers, and this community of English speakers in Morocco.
Fantastic. Yassin, how can we find out more about the Costa Coffee Goldex Morocco Book Award? If we want to find out more information, what can we do to find out more information?
There is a website and there is a page now. And there is Marco. If you can, please.
And people can visit the UK Pavilion stand
Absolutely.
C42 at 5 o'clock.
At 5
where
o'clock.
we're going to be officially launching the
We'll
Costa
go
Coffee
together. We
Goldex
can just
Morocco Book
go
Award.
together after the. But still, yeah. Can you give us just? Please join us.
Thank you. So look, for us at Goldex, we created something called the Costa Goldex Book Awards. We are passionate about Morocco, and we are here, obviously, on business, but also we want to be very much part of the community. And for us, what much better than go do that via education? And English is we are English speakers, and obviously comes from an English country. And for us, it gives us a great pleasure to be able to provide awards particularly for young writers that aspire to become authors in the future, to help them at the beginning with their journey. So that's why we have created that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much. So we've spoken about the past. We've got the present with us. So I know that it's a very difficult question to answer, but let's think about what will we be talking about at CL in 2034 and 2044. What does the future look like for Moroccan authors and for Moroccan writers?
34, you mean 34?
I picked a number out of my head. We could
34.
say 20.
No,
we could say 31.
Hafsa plans things, so she can tell us what she's preparing for 34.
I think a
joking,
flood of
Hafsa.
new writers would be an interesting thing.
Okay.
I think.
Yourself will be here.
Oh well, we can help.
I'm sure you will be. Zachary, go ahead. Take us
I
to the
think-
future.
Well, just a notion about the past again to see the future. In 2019, when I decided to publish my first book, once that was done, I had a flood of people asking, just can you actually, like logistically, is it possible to publish an English book in Morocco? And that was the most surprising part, because what people didn't know back then, and a few years before that, is that the possibility of publishing English in Morocco. People thought it was impossible. But with people who fight very hard to make that, and with events like these, I think what you might expect in the future is that a flood of people who are really interested in writing in English, with the help of events like these, publishers, community in English, that's what I foresee in the future, I believe.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other comments on that before we...
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Yassin.
Yeah, sure. I agree with what Zakaria just said. And I'll also add that technology will also play a big role, especially for logistics, because now that you mentioned also publishing in Morocco, I noticed that there is no online publisher, like for something like Amazon Kindle, right, where you can subscribe or buy books online and read them online. There's no such service yet in Morocco. So perhaps in 2034, someone who's got bright ideas might just start that. And it will be a big help, also, especially for first-timers, people who want to self-publish, but without the added cost of logistics, of printing, of getting the book distributed. So yeah, if you ask me about the future, that's what I can see. Okay. Right. Thanks.
Of course.
For a comment from Mr. Yassin on that as well. As our professional expert.
There is a platform that every Inouï, Orange, and Maroc Telecom, there's a library where you can, for 20 dirhams per month, you can read as much as you want, but on your phone or on your tablet or on your computer. It's called Uscribe. In 2024, we are in 2024. I'm here. I live day to day. But yes, I'm sure that maybe I think actually we will have a lot of Moroccan authors who write in Morocco and who are published in Morocco, and we will invade Africa and the world, and all our Moroccan authors will be read all across the world and will be a big puissance mondiale. That is what is going to happen, I think, if we continue like this.
Yeah, sorry. I just would like to add a little, my own experience on why I write in English in Casablanca. And I was asked that question one day, and I thought about it, and I thought about a particular poem that I wrote, and it's entitled The Target. And in fact, one of my ministers, tourism minister, was speaking on television, and he was using in French the word cible. Cible, il faut cibler, la population ciblée. And I felt aggressed, and I turned off the television, and then I thought, cible is not harsh, It's, Hadaf, even Arabic could be harsh, but wasn't hard enough. But target, you're dead. Thank you.
My last question, it's not the last question, we can talk right after this panel. I always like to end with an advice, for example, for young people who want to use English in their creative field or artistic or cultural field. Who can give this advice? I think Yassin, Nina, Marwan? Yes, let's go.
Depends how good the advice is. It depends how good the advice is.
It's good. Just 3 words. Just do it.
Nice.
Yassin?
Yeah, maybe you're not going to like my answer, but for me, it's like just do it in any language. The most important is to do it. And I think
wise.
Morocco is rich enough, and that's what makes us who we are, is because we always had all nationalities and all
diversity.
Diversity, exactly.
Marwan? You're going to kill me, but let's do it.
No, really not. Get a book. Get a book and start reading. I think that's the main advice. Get a damn book and read it.
Yeah.
Your mom is a teacher. I would suggest being open to the diversity of genres out there. Screenplay writing would be wonderful for people to start really studying as a form, which is a very strict form, and developing screenplays in English and so on and so forth. So I think recognizing that, complex comic books, young adult literature specifically targeted to particular age ranges. Young adult lit is a huge industry. So things like that, just opening themselves up to different genres.
Thank you, Nina.
Yeah, for me, if I will talk as a Moroccan writer, for me the language is not really important. You should be authentic, you write in the language you feel best. And I think that you can be multilingual, but your good texts, you will write them in one language. So for me, I write in Arabic, and I can read in English, I can help to translate my works to English, but I cannot write in English. But I just find it quite important to have new Moroccan writers that write in English. And I think we should really help them to work on this diversity of Moroccans. We are multilingual, we want to remain multilingual, and for us English, it gives these young people the opportunity to be read by a huge, I would say, public of readers. Still, I mean, why we are working on festival, on the prize, on all these things? Because we have a real problem is that some of our young writers write in English because they want to be read by a global reader, but they find themselves not read even in Morocco because they don't find publishers, they cannot reach that target they have in mind. The target audience they have in mind. So there are some socio-cultural problems that we should work on to solve. And to solve them, we need real institutions between quote and quote. Real, I mean, something like our festival, something like the prize, something like these panels, things like that.
Perfect. Lovely.
Oh, sorry. Just if I am to offer any piece of advice, it would just, especially if you want to express yourself creatively in English for the next generation, is just be humble, because you do not know it all. What I find, I'm also an English teacher, and something that occurs very often is that students think that they know English just based on pop culture English, and they think, oh, I've mastered English since I can communicate with it. But creative expression in English is a totally different field. So from time to time, just to humble them a little bit, I'll introduce a little bit of Poe or a little bit of Shakespeare, and they'll be like, teacher, is this English? I'm like, yes, this is English. So what you need to know is to be interested in books, humble yourself so that you face the reality that you don't know everything and you will never know everything. So, and I feel like that's the first step into doing anything creatively, is that you don't know it all, and a part of finding out is what gives you that spark to create something, that curiosity of it all.
Beautiful. One last word from Yassin. No? Okay. I'm gonna hand over to some questions. If they're quick and short and directed at a specific person. Excellent. So, ladies first. I'm going to run over with the microphone.
I just want to add, for the advice, we can do it in any language by reading very early and by communicating with children with books. And you are sure they will express themselves and they will understand any language.
Thank you. I'm going to hand over to the lady over here because she's had her hand up for a long time.
Thank you. I will not go into thanking a number of people here, and my comment is not to one person, it's to the panel, because I've been listening, and I was born with French and English. I studied Arabic. I've been living here 40 years, and I'm speaking now as a translator. You mentioned the generation gap. I'm over 70 years old. I speak 3 languages. One of my daughters speaks 5, okay? She's been around the world, and everywhere she goes, when people listen to her, they think she's native, whether it's Brazil or Colombia. Her father's Moroccan, and her mother is Franco-American, okay? So the younger you start, the better. But I do want to talk about translation, because I think in terms of generation, and Yassin Adnan from Marrakech, who has worked with my husband, knows exactly what I'm saying. I think Zakaria was right. After 40 years in this country, is because I am not fluent enough in Fusha. I cannot read everything my husband writes. That's my greatest frustration. Now, I think we need translators, and Yacine Rettnani knows what I'm talking about. Publishers must work on distribution. It's essential. There's a French-speaking, because, excuse me, but you have been using French for Francophone and French-speaking. French is one thing, French-speaking is another, and Francophone is another. Et je peux parler en tant que Française aussi. Yes, the French population in this country is amazed at the progress English is making. But it's not going to replace French. Kateb Yassin a bien laissé une phrase qui est restée dans les mémoires de tous ceux qui l'ont lu. Le français est un butin de guerre. Now, I'll just finish by saying, yes, a younger generation is seeing French as the colonizer's language. Yes, indeed. And decolonizing studies, decolonial studies, are looking at this, obviously. But then remember, in other parts of the world, it's American English that's seen as the imperialist language. And I will not forget a few years ago when Boutros Boutros-Ghali, an Egyptian, was president of l'Organisation de la Francophonie. I always thought whatever language is on the way down needs to be defended. In some parts of the world, it's Arabic. In others, it's French. English is absolutely all over. But please, let's not forget translators, because bridges, that's where the bridges are. Thank you.
Yeah, let's take the last question.
Yeah, I would like to thank you all for giving us this chance to listen to you. I'm really impressed. And yeah, I'm really impressed, and I like this. And concerning the idea of whether we should write in French or in English and Arabic, you know, when we think about it, it's just a language after all. Yes, of course, we should be more concerned about the content, like that behind that language, because the content is more important. Like. Of course, we know that some people say the medium is the message, but that's not often the case. And concerning like the case of French, for example, when we talk about Morocco, French is has got a bigger influence on intellectuals, mainly because the elites in Morocco are the bourgeois, are the elites, and that automatically made them, they speak French. They speak French. And now with the rise of the popular culture, now Moroccans are just, they adopt this blend. There is no diminishing of classes. Now we see that the Moroccans, they felt better with English because it does not distinguish a lot. It does not. It diminishes this distinction between the classes, and that's the main reason why people are making this transition to English, because they find it's less. Even though they are not bourgeois, they can still join in. And I think we should, as Moroccans, we should promote Arabic more than French or even English, because in the end, that's the language of the Moroccans. Whether we talk about, as our professor said, it's just it's a language, but they're both language of colonizers. The British and American colonizer. Yes, and the French colonizer.
Arabic can be considered language of the colonizers when it comes to North Africa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much. But we should promote, we should promote Arabic or Amazigh as well. Yes, because they are our languages, and we should be proud to have them. Thank you very much.
We're all colonizers at the end of the day. No, me too. I come from the country that was probably the biggest colonizer in history, so... No, don't worry. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your comments. We could go on all night with this, but I think we have to clear the room. So I'm going to thank all of our panelists, Yassin, Marwan, Nina, Yassin, Zakaria, and Hossein. I'm going to... I think all of them are around for a lot of the fair, so don't be shy to come and speak to them and come and grab them about. And this is a discussion that I think will go on for a long time. So thank you very, very much for listening, and to our panel as well. Well done, Sumaya, and thank you for Hafsa for organising. A picture, there we go. Sorry to cut you off and to not answer.